Hi, and welcome back to the Million Dollar Events Podcast. This is a space for event leaders to elevate their event experiences, get inspired for their next event, and connect deeply with their communities. Hi, my name is Jami Johnson, and I am a retreat planning rock star, a conference girly, and I'm here to show you how you can create a $1 million event arm of your coaching business. It is absolutely possible for you. So without further ado, today I want to talk about hypocrisy. Okay, I know that sounds crazy, but I was counterparts. She looked at me and said, "Why are you trying to sell a course that teaches retreat planning when you just told me that you don't think anybody should be DIYing their retreat?" And you know what? In the moment, well, she was obviously correct, but it was like, do I really think that's true? Or is that what I've been programmed to believe? And I'm going to go deep with this. So today's topic is literally who should be hiring a retreat planner to plan their retreat? And I have my notes with me. So grab a notebook, a pen, your favorite kombucha or water, and let's dive into who should actually be hiring a retreat planner and what kind of support do you actually need to host a retreat that creates $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 per retreat in revenue. Now, I do know a thing or two. One of my clients has made $180,000 off of 3 retreats in 2024. I've been here. I've done that. I've also had clients that haven't made anything on their retreats. I also have a client that chose to go into the red. So while we're talking about money, while we're talking about who needs to hire me, because clearly you can either be successful or not be successful with a planner, I'm going to dive into my hypocrisy of that statement and then also who should really be hiring me. So let's get into it. I was working with a content strategist. I'm really ramping up my content in 2025 because I want to be doing and focusing more of my time on long form content like this podcast, like YouTube. And then that way she can take nuggets and bits and bolts from there and streamline into the short form content because that's a volume game and I just don't have time for that. This feels so much better to me. When we were talking about how we were going to strategize selling Retreats on Repeat Academy, and that is my DIY like self-paced course on how you can go from not knowing anything about hosting a retreat to planning an entire retreat by yourself. Like literally, I have a course for this called Retreats on Repeat Academy. It is trademarked. It is trademarked. Here's the kicker. And I'm going to be so nervously authentic right now. I have not sold one single person into it. Have I really tried to? Also, no. And when she looked at me and we were talking about the assets I have created and the offers I have created, she said, "Girl, what just came out of your mouth was no one should DIY their retreat. No wonder your course hasn't sold." And I took a deep breath. I was like, "You're right. You're absolutely right." She was like, "If you truly believe that, it's not in alignment with your brand and who you are and how you're marketing. We have a lot of work to do." And I said, "You know what? You're right. Listen, we got off that call because I stuck my foot in my mouth and said, no, I really want to be a coach. I really want to teach people how to do this." And she was like, "Well, then do you really want to teach people how to do this? Or do you want to teach people how to have an event business that then they can plan retreats?" And the answer to that was yes, both. I want to teach people how to successfully have a retreat business. I also want to teach people how to plan retreats. She was like, "Well, then you cannot believe that the only way to be successful at planning retreats is to hire a planner because you don't want to take on any more clients. You want to make your one-on-one services super high ticket in order to live and grow my company." So my thought is I want to teach other people how to do this. I want to teach more people. I want to help people have an amazing retreat experience. I want them to make money and I want them to feel lit the fuck up after the retreat. I want them to be able to do this with ease and not a whole bunch of confusion and hundreds of hours on Google and, on Pinterest, like trying to piece it together. Like that is not what I'm here for. I'm here to help you make retreat planning easier and conference planning easier. After we got off the call, Like, we mapped out a whole strategy for Retreats on Repeat Academy, which is going to be a membership, by the way. A little nervous about that too, but we're doing it. We're doing it anyway. And you know what? Like, once I had a moment to think about it, do I really believe that people shouldn't be DIYing their retreat? And the answer is no, I don't. I would not hire a retreat planner to plan my retreat. So then after I answered that question, I journaled why. I came up with this conclusion. Partially, the reason I wouldn't hire somebody to plan my retreat is because I have the skill set. I know what needs to be done for a retreat. I know how a retreat should be successful. I know that I currently don't have an engaged audience for retreats, but I know that I want to host retreats in the future. So that means creating content. That means engaging with people. That means teaching people. That means connecting and making an impact now so I can host and launch and be successful at retreats later. I know how to sell out a retreat, and I know that my business is currently not ready for that. But now I know where I want to go. So when I sit with that, like, it's partially because I know how to plan a retreat. I think even if I had never planned a retreat before, I would still plan my own retreat. So the hypocrisy in all of this is, do I think that you should DIY your retreat? All of my marketing up until now has been, no, you shouldn't DIY your retreat. You should hire a planner. But do I truly believe that? And the answer is also no. I think that there's circumstances and certain people or types of people that can absolutely DIY their own retreat and be successful. I also think that there are a certain type of people that need help of a planner. So both things can be true. When I reflect back to, when did this narrative start? When did this belief system start? It really went back to 2017, 2018 with the first business coach, because I knew I wanted to plan retreats. But every time she said, why should somebody hire you? And I would say, I don't know. It's so easy for me to do this. It's so easy for me to plan events. And she said, but it's not easy for everyone. So in order for you to be the authority, that go-to person who knows how to plan a bomb-ass retreat that can make sure everything is done correctly and you make money, they need to hire you. So your answer to that question is, of course you need a retreat planner. Of course you do, because you don't know how to plan a retreat. I do. Hire me and I'll make sure it's done right the first time. So that was the narrative. That was the marketing. That was the talking points that I stood on literally until today. In order for me to full chest say, you have to hire me as a retreat planner if you want a successful retreat, is also me saying, you should not DIY your retreat, because then you obviously wouldn't hire me. And I wasn't at the point or that skill set or authority to be able to teach you how to plan a retreat, because I'd never planned a retreat before. So if we circle back to, do I actually think that you need a planner to plan a retreat? The answer has always been no. You know, there's so many other questions that could come off of this, right? But I've also been conditioned in order to be successfully selling my one-on-one packages to believe this, because authenticity is everything, as you know that. And I'm being super authentic right now. When I think to the person who should be DIYing their retreat, it's the type A people, the people who go at it messy, the people who just start, the people who make decisions quickly, the people who are not great at delegating, the people who do not trust somebody else with their vision to bring their vision to life. You should be the one DIYing your retreat. The people who aren't afraid to throw money at things, the people who are excellent at delegating, the visionaries, the people who want to think of the bigger picture, but don't want to get their hands dirty. Those are the people that should hire me as a one-on-one retreat planner. So both things exist at the same time. Do I think you can DIY your retreat? Yes. Do I think you should? Not all the time. Not all the time. And when I realize that two things can exist and be true at the same time, I think of how maybe I've been split and torn apart between what I really want to be doing and what I have been doing to keep me safe. And playing it safe, I think, has also kept me small. because I was too nervous to contradict myself. I was too nervous to say, you don't need a retreat planner. Because if I said, you don't need a retreat planner, then why should people hire me? When in reality, the people who are on the fence of hiring me, the people who want to DIY it, would never hire me at all. So as I have this epiphany with you today, I want to say to you, you can absolutely DIY your retreat. You can absolutely plan everything yourself. You can 100% make money planning your own retreat. What I also want to say to you is you can absolutely figure it out. However, if you have never planned a retreat, or you're not making the money that you want to make, or if your feedback has been okay, if you're not selling like you want to be selling your retreat experiences, if you are nervous to host your first retreat, that is when you should hire me. That is when you should be in Retreats on Repeat Academy. That is when you seek the consultation, you seek the expert. That way you know that you are doing everything in your power to protect your ROI. And the investment in this piece is your hard-earned money to put the retreat on, to host a retreat. Because unfortunately, retreats are something that you have to spend money in order to make money on. You will have to go into your own pocket before you've completely sold out, before you've necessarily sold enough to cover your expenses. Especially if you are not a big enough coach to afford to delegate, then you should be DIYing your retreat. And when you're DIYing your retreat, you want to make sure you're doing it right the first time, because your hard-earned money deserves to be working for you. And I 100%, this is what I full body know. When you work with me, either that's learning how to plan a retreat from Retreats on Repeat Academy or one of my other programs, or you hire me to do one-on-one planning. Either way, it will be less painful and cheaper for you to hire me at the beginning than to ask me to unfuck your mess. If you hire me too late in the game, I will not be able to save you. If you hire me too late, you will lose money. So if you are a DIY girly, if you know you want to host a retreat, if you have been hosting retreats and they have not been exactly what you want, it's not been in your bigger vision, then it's time for you to get into Retreats on Repeat Academy. I can promise you that you will learn enough that it will 10x your investment. Retreats on Repeat Academy is opening. I will see you there.